Death Knights. Death Knights were announced. I am super excited. I feel like adding in that 10th class of Demon Hunter, yeah, it might have had a rocky start, but now, a couple years later, it completely feels natural to have Demon Hunters in the game. So I'm pretty excited to see where they take Death Knights. I kind of wondered how they would do Death Knights and runes and kind of take that Warcraft elements and bring it into Hearthstone. And oh boy, did they. There is definitely a difference in how you are going to build your decks for Death Knights than other classes. Death Knight's playable class, it's a 2 mana hero power, and it summons a 1/1 ghoul with charge, has that undead tag. There's also a corpse mechanic to Death Knights. So under the mana crystals, you will have a corpse counter. It's in game, so you don't have to have any like third-party trackers or anything to keep track of that. It will be in game. After friendly minions die, that counter will go up. Now, this is each friendly minion, not just undead minions that die. That will increase your counter. It's friendly minions. Now, let's jump in and talk about runes. Now, for Death Knights, there's 3 kinds of runes. There's blood runes, frost rune, and unholy runes. So you will see those reflected under the mana cost of cards, and you'll see either 1, 2, or 3. Now, the deck building itself, when you jump into a Death Knight deck build, it will have basically a rune tray kind of at the top of the deck, and you will get to build your deck based on those runes. Now, if you put in a card that has 3 blood runes, for example, 3 blood runes will fill in that tray, and that is all you can have. So basically, that is a full blood list. You will only be able to add regular Death Knight cards that don't have runes on them, or neutral cards, or other Death Knight cards that have that blood rune, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, that doesn't matter. But it will only be able to do that. Now, if you fill in, maybe the first couple of cards in your deck with a card that has 1 blood rune, you'll still have 2 runes available. So maybe you could put in a card that has 2 frost runes. So you'd have 1 blood and 2 frost. So then you can create a deck that has both cards from frost and blood, as long as they kind of match that rune at the top. So you wouldn't be able to put in cards that have 2 blood runes if you only have 1 at the top of your deck. But you could put cards that have 1 or 2 frost runes because you had 2 frost runes, plus the neutrals, plus Death Knight cards that don't use runes at all. It's really going to be an interesting kind of deck building. I feel like this is kind of the closest we've had in Hearthstone to other games like Magic or Eternal, where those games have like multicolor cards and multicolor decks. Hearthstone has been different from the beginning from other cards like that because it did kind of hone in on each class having its own cards, and it limited deck building in that way, where you could only use class cards, or essentially, if you want to look at it as colors, like Warlock, for example, purple, you could only have purple cards and neutral. So this Death Knight is definitely a step, I would say, closer to other card games and other deck building styles, while still kind of keeping that Hearthstone class identity and class deck building style at the same time. So very, very interesting. I was really intrigued on how they would do this. So I'm really curious to see like what kind of builds people use. And I think it's also a really cool way for them to create specific cards. For example, a really powerful card that has 3 of the same rune. So 3 blood runes is going to be very powerful, but that means that you are limiting what cards you can add to your deck from the start if you're going to include that powerful card, because you cannot include unholy cards or frost cards if you go for the 3 blood rune card. But it's just a very interesting way of building decks that I think especially for Hearthstone, we've never had this before. The closest I think in Hearthstone we've had to this would be something very similar to the dual class cards or even the tri-class cards that we had in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. This is a little bit different because it's all in the same class. Because there are kind of these limitations on how many cards you will be able to add based on the runes that you put in. They are actually adding more Death Knight cards right from the start. So there's going to be 68 total cards. So 32 that will be like for the standard year, the core set. There's going to be 26 cards available with what they are calling the Path of Arthas set, and then the 10 normal, expansion cards. How you unlock these Death Knights, they will have a prologue. We had this as well with the Demon Hunter, so everyone will have to do this, regardless of if you're a newer player, if you've been playing since beta, anywhere in between. When this launches, you'll have to work through these handful of missions, and getting that prologue completed will get you the 32 cards from that core set that I said that they're launching those cards as like this year, the standard year core set. Once you complete that, you'll get all of those 32 cards for free. Then on the other side, though, they have this Path of Arthas set. So you're not going to have to buy this multiple times. There's 26 cards in this that are, well, distinct cards combined with the core set cards that you can get for free. And they form the Death Knight starter decks. Again, that's also going to be part of the mega bundle if you do that. So when the expansion does go live, it does state that you can get those as a standalone thing for either 2,000 gold or 1,500 runestones. Or you can get a golden part of it. But essentially, so that 2,000 is like a mini set. The Path of the Arthas cards can't be opened from packs, though. So this is what makes it different. So they can only be purchased as part of that mega bundle or purchased as the standalone or crafted. You can craft these, though. If you're unsure about Death Knights, if you're not sure how this is going to actually kind of play out, you want to see them in action before the expansion goes live, they also have set up a Death Knight show match that's going to be happening November 16th and 17th, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be on Twitch and YouTube. And it seems like there's going to be 12 players. They're going to be split into 3 teams. And each player is going to have a kind of specific combination of runes for the deck that they're going to be able to create and play against each other. It's going to be casted by Celissa and Garrett. Garrett, formerly from Angry Chicken. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm definitely going to be tuning in to watch that and see kind of how these decks actually play out. I don't know. Are you going to be playing Death Knights like day one? I probably will. I probably will try them, but it depends on what other exciting cards get revealed for the other classes. But of course, Death Knight is going to be the new exciting thing. So I'm really, really interested to see how these really play out and how the deck building feels. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope that you are as well. Thank you so much for checking this out. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out my overview of the expansion and all of the exciting things that they have revealed so far.